caught up reading reviews. So shout out to those people leaving reviews. You guys are amazing. Just to shout out a couple people. Let's see right here. Some 5-star reviews. You guys are awesome. We got A Walk in the Park, BK, Lobo Michael, Collar and Crate. Thank you guys so much for your reviews. We have JKS Baker Girl. Thank you again. EJS Murphy. Thank you for those reviews. K918 Dog Training. We know who you are. Thank you so much for leaving us a review. That's so wonderful.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
Lammy own biggest fan. Awesome. Thank you guys. These are all 5-star reviews. We really, really appreciate it. Again,
dude,
those of you guys who are listening, leave us a review. That it really helps us show up more organically on the podcast. So
it really does.
searches.
Thank you guys so much. Please do leave us reviews, but also thank you so much for listening. And for everybody who's reached out, we are getting back to you. We're so sorry about the delay. We get your stuff, guys. We will be getting back to you. We love you very much, and we just wanted to say thank you one more time. Welcome to the Dog Trainers Podcast,
a podcast created by dog trainers for dog trainers or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
Hey everybody, welcome back and thank you so much for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast. Mariano Alvarez here with Brent LaBrada. This is episode 3 of season 2. We're sorry guys, we know it's been a while, but rest assured, it's because we've got so much going on, so much new content in the works, including an amazing trip to New York that we took. We've been chopping up content, watching it, reviewing it, doing all that good stuff, and slowly putting out bite-sized pieces of content for you guys with some of the trainers that we were lucky enough to have spend some time with. But nonetheless, we want to make sure that we get right back on track with you guys. We miss you too. We're looking forward to getting back into it. And with that, over to you, man.
What's up, guys? As Mariano said, we miss the hell out of you guys. It's been probably a month, maybe a month and a half since we've done an episode. So those of you guys listening, thank you for checking back in. We had a great time in New York. We got to hang out with Tyler Muto. We got to hang out with Blake Rodriguez, Tom Davis. We got to hang out with Nahum Russell from Calm K9 Training. And it was such a fun trip to not just get to see New York for the first time, but it was really awesome to actually get to meet these people in the flesh, get to have conversations with them, get to know them, get to have some fun with them. Like Mariano did jujitsu with Blake Rodriguez, which you have that footage coming out at some point. And all of this was really, really great, guys. And so we want to thank you guys for just the following that you guys have created. Again, it's episode 3 of season 2, and we're so excited. And so the last couple months, me and Mariana have been trying to figure out a way that we can continue the Dog Trainers Podcast to grow, to help serve you guys. And one thing that we were able to figure out was that my nonprofit is now officially going to have the Dog Trainers Podcast as a project of the nonprofit. So this means if you guys enjoy our content, if you guys see value in this content, you guys can actually help us grow by supporting us. Now, how you guys support us, obviously you guys can support us on the internet, sharing stuff. But if you guys want to financially donate to us, there is now a way to donate to the Dog Trainers Podcast, specifically through my organization, the Canis Foundation. .org. So if you guys go there, you guys can go ahead and check that out, and you guys can donate specifically to us. And this will allow us to help create content for you guys, to create merchandise for you guys, to create to do more in-person interviews with people so that we can get the knowledge, the experience from some of our very, very special guests and funnel that out to you guys. So we'd really appreciate that.
Can I just say a few words on that really quick?
Sure, go ahead.
So I just want to be clear, you guys. canisfoundation.org, CANIS foundation.org. There will be a tab called Donate. You can click on that to find out more. Now, what I wanted to say was, in my experience in the nonprofit world, yes, please do consider. And honestly, you guys, you know how they say like no contribution is too small? Well, that's true. And that not only applies to money. I don't care if it's 10 cents. It's just it also applies to something as simple as if you like our content, when you see it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, just share it, dude. Just help us spread the word. That really does so much more than you would think, especially when we get into the nonprofit world, because of course, the clout, the motion you have behind your organization helps you set up bigger and bigger events with more and more people. But also, the final thing I wanted to say on this was when it comes to donating, guys, here's a really cool thing about nonprofit work. It doesn't just have to be monetary. If you guys are in the area, let's say, and we're throwing an event, and maybe you've got some time and would like to volunteer, that's also something that really helps us a lot. People always need volunteers when they're throwing big events. And I'll tell you what, man, because it's a nonprofit, your volunteer hours are still tax deductible. Like
100%.
There's so many ways that you guys can get involved. And I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Sorry about that, you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, those of you guys who may just be checking in, the Canis Foundation is a foundation to help educate rescues, to help educate volunteers, to help educate the public. So we need dog trainers to volunteer their time. If we're doing an event in Arizona, Texas, New York, Pennsylvania, doesn't matter where it is, we will be hosting events. So you guys, please go ahead and follow Canis Foundation also on Instagram, and you guys will also be able to check out canisfoundation.org and see what we're up to. We're just finally getting the nonprofit off the ground. So we'd really appreciate your guys' support in any way that you guys can. So let's go ahead and move on now to what today's episode is, right? We had, again, the privilege to go to New York and get to see how Tyler Muto runs his business, get to see how Tom Davis runs his business, get to see how Blake Rodriguez runs his business. And we were so inspired because anytime that we have the privilege to see these people and meet these people, there's a lot of learning going on. And maybe it's not definitely verbal, like they're not sitting us down, giving us lectures on how to do stuff, but we're picking up information. As Blake Rodriguez said, you got to steal with your eyes. And there were such amazing practices that we saw at these facilities that just inspired us. And so what we wanted to theme this episode around is how you build a business, right? Like me and Mariano, both of us used to train dogs from our apartments, and we used to train dogs individually, and we used to have to, do a lot of things. And we also worked for big kennels and developed our experience and put in our work to do stuff. And so in this episode, we want to break down how to go legit, and how we're going to go ahead and go from maybe just being a hobbyist dog trainer, maybe being a dog trainer who is thinking about making that dive into being an entrepreneur. And we're just going to guide you guys through how we did it and some technical things that we think would definitely help you guys. And yeah, we just really hope this is helpful for you.
100%. So, here's an interesting spin on how we wanted to do this. I think it would make sense, Brent, to kind of give just a quick rundown of how we started. So for
Sure.
example, it's been, let's say 4 or 5 years now since I was living in LA training dogs out of my apartment. It was a studio apartment in downtown. It was right off of 3rd and Rampart. It was a small apartment, of course, no yard or anything. And I would have sometimes 13, 14 dogs. The way that I made it work spatially, I lofted my bed and I put as many of the dogs' crates as they fit underneath my queen size bed. But here's what I learned with it, because I'm not going to take too long with the story is here's what I learned while I was doing that, because obviously it was under the table, which means I was able to save cost here and there, right? It gave me the time, the breathing room to not only create my programs to something that was solid enough and complete enough that I could charge what a more established kennel with overhead could get away with charging and it be worth the price, but also it gave me the wiggle room necessary because I didn't have all this overhead. I could charge a little bit lower and capture those clients. It gave me the time to test the market and figure out pricing, because something that Brent and I notice a lot with newer trainers is people can't figure out their pricing. They can't figure out how to structure programs, how to structure hourly or weekly or however you guys do it. So that was a great eye opener for me. The more comfortable I got with it, the better my dogs did, the better everything did. I was able to raise prices and I slowly kind of incorporated myself into the more legit side of things, LLC and so on.
Yeah, for sure. And it is scary, guys, jumping in and doing your own thing. And some of you guys might already be doing it. So I guess I'll tell you guys a little bit about my background, because I was lucky. I was super, super lucky. When I was young, I figured out what I wanted to do. I worked under a mentor, and I was fortunate enough to be able to practice on his employees everything that I needed to learn to be able to build my own business to be successful. Right. And I worked for this guy for 10 years, and I was able to train people, train clients, train trainers, train staff, come up with protocols, create programs, work with rescues. I was able to do a bunch of stuff under the tutelage and the safety net of being part of another company. And, you know, one of my dreams and one of my goals is to be able to do that for other people as well. Right. So I'm super lucky. And a little bit of my story when I went solo, you know, my mentor, you know, he's always been kind of a big brother to me and helped me out a lot. And around in 2016, he told me that he wanted me to create my own LLC. And I said, why? And he started explaining, you know, deductions. And I could, actually, no, you know what happened is I was so busy at my facility that I didn't have time to do emails and to send homework and to book myself because I was literally doing like 8-9 clients in one day, back to back to back to back. Right. And at this time I was on commission at the company that I worked on. So the more I worked, the more money I made. And it got to this point where I was just like, can I get an assistant or something like that? And so what he did is he taught me, he goes, well, if you want to hire your own person, right now you're a private contractor, but if you'd like to hire your own person, I'd suggest to open up an LLC. And I was like, okay. And through that LLC, you can have a payroll and you can do all this other stuff. And so I did. So I opened up my LLC. I got my corporation and I hired my first assistant that I ever had in my life. And it was weird because I didn't know how to have an assistant. So I got her on payroll and, you know, she was very useful. She stuck with me for about a year. You know, I paid her very well for you know, what she was doing. And it definitely increased my productivity a lot. Right now, 2 years later, my mentor would actually sell the company that he owned for 12 years, and he sold it so he could retire. And at that time, I was freaking out. I was like, "What the hell? Like, who am I going to work for? What's going on?" And it was kind of like, you know, where you know, Obi-Wan Kenobi leaves Luke Skywalker. You know, it's kind of like that moment in Star Wars where he's like, you know, the student now becomes the master and the master is going to leave. And all of a sudden I don't want to work for this company if my mentor is not there anymore. And so he reassured me. He said, you know what, you have your LLC, you have your company. And my job previously was my company was hired once I developed it for that company to train trainers, to help develop policy, to help train staff. And so in essence, I was like a consulting firm. I was a training consulting person for this company. And as soon as he sold the company, I ended up leaving and just added training to my actual company, right? So I still consult with people. I still mentor people. I still help people build their businesses. And on top of it, now that I had my LLC, I just started doing board and trains, but I didn't have board and trained facility, right? So I, just like everyone else, I started training from where I lived. And man, that was a freaking process. So that's my very long-winded story of how I got started on a solo journey. And man, it's crazy. It's crazy and it's scary for sure.
You know, it's cool because the more we talk about that, and you know, and I agree, like, I think it's awesome. Like I too think that you're very lucky, but I'm not like jealous because I'm just too happy for you, you know, but it's cool because, it allows us to be that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even with something like this episode, even just you telling that story, it allows us to give people this kind of information that can genuinely help them, you know, proceed or decide the speed or the direction of their company, you know? So that's awesome, man. I love that story.
Thanks, man. But
yeah, rest assured, you guys, me and Brent were friends all throughout all that. And it is a struggle when you've got like a studio, a 1-bedroom, and fucking dogs in the next room. And especially when you're not supposed to have all these dogs and you have to like rotate silently. And oh man, good times.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
In any case, though,
you know, animal control gets called on you, and it's real. It's a real thing, guys. It's a real thing.
In any case, what we wanted to get into then was, so the first step for the both of us, it sounds like, was establishing an LLC, make yourself legit, protect yourself, right? Insurances, and making sure that your tax stuff is all in compliance, which that can be honestly like a podcast in itself. But, you know, make sure that you get that help. Here's a tidbit of information or a piece of wisdom or whatever. that I would suggest. Trust me, when I started my LLC, it's not like I was balling, and I was willing to try to save money wherever I could. Spend the money on a bookkeeper, spend the money on insurance. There are some things that are just worth it, you guys. Make sure. Oh, and by the way, when you start hiring employees, spend the money on an HR company to help yourself. It's been totally worth the time. It's made things so much easier, so much because when you start hiring on employees, there are things you don't account for, like PTO and and vacation days and holiday pay and so just I would say it gets super complicated super fast. And instead of having like a full-time employee to just do all that, there are like these online bespoke companies that do that for like a fraction of whatever the monthly would be. Definitely look into that kind of thing. It's worth the extra headspace.
Yeah.